Hello, dear aspirants. Welcome to English Literature and Language Academy. As per yesterday announced that today onwards we are going to bring a series of lectures on PU English lecturers recruitment, especially for English lecturers. In this lecture series, we are going to bring a detailed analysis of old or previous questions which were asked, and we are going to give insights how to analyze previous questions. These videos are this lecture series are very helpful for all those aspirants for UGC, NTA-NET, KSET or SLET, assistant professors, PU lecturers, and HSTR teachers also. So please do watch and try to note the important points we are going to discuss in this lecture series. Let's move on without wasting our time. The very first question is, who in the last section, there are different sections in Tintern Abbey, is directly addressed by the poet as his dearest friend. Please observe this word, dearest friend. Answer. Let's see the first options. Option 1, Dorothy Wordsworth. Option 2, Coleridge. Option 3, Annette Vallon. Option 4, Mary Hutchison. So all these four personalities are nearest to William Wordsworth. However, in the context of this poem Tintern Abbey, Dorothy Wordsworth was with William Wordsworth. So the answer is 1, Dorothy Wordsworth. She was described in this poem as dearest friend. She is sister of William Wordsworth. So let's see the background about the poem. So what is the full title of this poem? Lines written a few miles above Tintern Abbey. This is the full title of the poem. This time they may ask this question. And when it was written, that is also very important, in 1798. And here we have the reference of river Wye. Please remember name of the river Wye. And themes of this poem is childhood experience, memory, as well as nature. So these are the central themes of Tintern Abbey, and it is an example for topographical poetry. This is the first question we have tried to analyze. Next, moving to the next question. Shelley's defense of poetry was originally intended as a reply to, let's say, option 1, Coleridge's Biography Literaria, Thomas Love Peacock's The Four Ages of Poetry, Sir Philip Sidney's A Defense of Poesy, John Dryden's Of Dramatic Poesy. So what are the similarities between these works? All these four works are critical works about literature, especially poetry. So here the question is, Shelley's defense of poetry is going to reply which critic? Coleridge was contemporary to Shelley. Thomas Lowe Peacock was also contemporary to Shelley. Sir Philip Sidney was belonged to 16th century Elizabethan age. John Redden belonged to 17th century or Restoration age. And here he was defending the poetry. Shelley was defending the poetry against Thomas Lowe Peacock's accusation, what he was accused the poetry in his critical work, The Four Ages of Poetry. So the answer is 2. Thomas Lowe Peacock's The Four Ages of Poetry. Defense of Poetry was written in 1821 but published in 1840 after the death of P.B. Shelley. Posthumously, this work was published especially by his wife. And next, a very famous quote in defense of poetry, that poets are the unacknowledged, please remember this word, unacknowledged legislators of the world. This was a famous quote in defense of poetry. Okay, let's move on. Next question. Prospoise. Look at the word. Prospoise is a poem by option 1 Shelley, option 2 Browning, option 3 Keats, option 4 Tennyson. So Prospoise is a poem by answer Robert Browning. Please remember Robert Browning. Let's see about Robert Browning. He was a famous Victorian poet. He was famous for dramatic monologue. For example, Prospoise is an example to dramatic monologue. And this poem was written in 1861 after the death of his wife Elizabeth Barrett Browning, and it was published in 1864. Prospoise is a Latin word which means to look forward. And what is the theme of the poem is that here the speaker talks of facing death, and he bravely and being reunited with his soulmate. Together he wants to rest with God. Now let's move on next question. In his essay My First Acquaintance with Poets, this is an essay, Hazlitt describes Wordsworth as resembling to, let's say option, whom with Wordsworth resembles. Option 1 Hamlet, option 2 Don Quixote, option C Thomas Becket, option 4 Saint Augustine. Here Hazlitt is comparing in his essay My First Acquaintance with Poets, Wordsworth resembling to, answer is Don Quixote. Please remember Don Quixote. So why he was comparing Don Quixote? Because Don Quixote is a famous character in entire literature. He was famous for his misadventure. In the same way, Wordsworth also adventures in poetic diction and many other language and literature elements. In this context, Hazlitt compares Wordsworth to Don Quixote in his essay My First Acquaintance with Poets. So Hazlitt also belonged to romantic age. He was contemporary and a friend of William Wordsworth. This essay was written in 1823. So please remember it was written at Lake District. Lake district, and it was actually written in the background of these two, Hazlitt, Wordsworth, and as well as Coleridge were discussing some topics at this district. They were discussing the topics like poetry, philosophy, and politics. In this essay, William Hazlitt compared different person to the different people. For example, Coleridge, he was compared Coleridge to Paradise Lost Satan. So in this way, my first acquaintance with poets was discussed by Hazlitt. Let's move on to the next question. Which one of these is not a feature of the personality? Look at personality of Coleridge, ancient mariner. So here in the question is asking about ancient mariner person. He was described in the poem, given four options like glittering eye, skinny hand, grey beard, and toothless mouth. Among these four features, one feature was not associated with physical personality of ancient mariner. Guess the answer? Answer is toothless mouth. Answer is toothless mouth. Let's see the background of the poem. So, Ancient Mariner, what is the full title of the poem? The Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. And themes, it is about spirituality and restoration of nature. Please remember about nature and creation of God. Look at creations of God and harmony with human beings. Here, mariner kills sea bird albatross. Please remember name of the bird, albatross. So in that context, this poem was written. So now let's move on next question. The question reads, Keats' Endymion, this is a poem, is dedicated to option 1 Shakespeare, option 2 Wordsworth, option 3 Chatteron, option 4 Milton. So the correct answer is here Chatteron. Who is Chatteron? His full name was Thomas Chatteron. The poem Endymion by Keats was dedicated to Thomas Chatteron. He was famous and very young English poet of 18th century in 1752 to and 97. So Endymion is a Greek myth. Please remember it is a Greek myth. Endymion was influenced by Greek mythology and it was dedicated to Thomas Chatteron. And the famous line of this poem, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. So this is a beautiful line and beginning of the first line of this poem, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. This poem, Endymion, was written in heroic couplet. Please remember, it was written in heroic couplet. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Barry Lyndon by Thackeray is in the line of dash. So here question is expecting the form of novel Barry Lyndon. So let's see what is the form of the novel. One is a picaresque novel, second an epistolary novel, third a metafiction, fourth a gothic novel. So the answer is first one picaresque novel. It means Barry Lyndon is a novel written in the form of picaresque novel. Let's see what is picaresque novel. Picaresque is a Spanish word originated from picaresque, which means roach or rascal. So that is called picaresque novel. It is in the form sometime adventure novel. So Barry Lyndon is a novel by William Makepeace Thacker. So who was the narrator of this novel? The title eponymous Barry Lyndon was himself was the narrator of this novel. Epistolary means a novel letter in letter format. Metafiction means is a beyond the fact, and Gothic novel means a kind of horrific, fearful elements are there in the novel. That's called Gothic novel. For example, Frankenstein novel by Mary Shelley. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Some of Tennyson's finest poems were written in elegies for his friend. We have to understand the term. Elegy means is a short lyric poem was addressed to the dead person or mourning somebody's death. That is called elegy. So death is central theme of this form of poetry. So let's see options. Arthur Hugh Clarke, F.T. Palgrave, E. Fitzgerald, and Arthur Henry Hallam. So guess who was the this his Tennyson's elegies was dedicated to? The answer is Arthur Henry Hallam. He was friend of Tennyson. Tennyson, who was Tennyson? He was a famous poet of Victorian age. And please remember, he was also a poet laureate of England after Wordsworth. Please remember. And his famous poem In Memoriam. Please remember, In Memoriam. It was published in 1850. So this was a great example to elegy. Actually, this poem was dedicated to Arthur Henry Hallam. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Which one of these writers was Charles Lamb's schoolmate, means classmate in Christ Hospital? Please remember Christ Hospital. Let's say option. William Hazlitt, John Henry Newman, S.T. Coleridge, Thomas Love Peacock. So the answer is Coleridge. Please remember the answer is Coleridge. Coleridge was a friend of Charles Lamb. Where? At Christ Hospital. Christ Hospital is a charity school. There, Charles Lamb and Coleridge were classmates. And please remember, Charles Lamb wrote a famous work, Essays of Elia. Essays of Elia in 1823, and Coleridge wrote Biography Literaria in 1817. So both these friends mentioned in their these two works reference to Christ Hospital. So it means Charles Lamb and Coleridge were friends. They were studied at Christ Hospital. Let's move on to the last question. The original title of Ruskin's Sesame is options: King's Treasures, The Vital Law, The Universal Good, and Modern Painters. Guess what is the original title of Ruskin's Sesame? The answer is King's Treasuries. Please remember King's Treasuries. So Sesame is a lecture series. It is a lecture series given by John Ruskin. Who was John Ruskin? He was a famous Victorian philosopher and art and architect of the modern philosophy in England. And he was a famous and influential writer. He was influenced not only in England but all over the world. For example, his famous work Unto This Last 1860 and 62. This work was influenced our father of nation Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi, in his autobiography, he was mentioned the influence of John Ruskin in his book Unto This Last. So finally, CSAM original title is King's Treasuries. With this, today we try to discuss and try to analyze 10 important old questions or previous questions which were asked in the 2015 and 16 English recruitment. Thank you for watching this video. Please do subscribe, share, like and comment in the comment section. Your comment and sharing and subscribing is very important. That motivates us to make more quality videos. So please once again subscribe, share and like and comment in the comment section. Thank you for watching. Take care.